We're going to begin today with a session with a remote speaker. He's appearing from Spain, and he's going to help me explore this topic of how his company, as well as others across the ecosystem, are making Bitcoin easier to use. That's been a recurring problem across Bitcoin's history. It's been too stuck, we believe, in the crypto hobbyist world of functionality, and we need to make Bitcoin so easy to use that anyone from anywhere can onboard and easily enjoy the Bitcoin experience. Please welcome to our virtual stage to have a conversation with me, the CEO and co-founder of HandCash, Alex Agut.
Hey, Jimmy, how are you?
I am well, Alex. So I know Rafa was going to join us, but you have him too busy working on product delivery, right? So we'll just wish Rafa a good hello for a future dialogue. Don't overwork him, Alex.
Well, that's not up to me entirely.
So let's talk about some of the exciting announcements and developments that you've been dealing with HandCash recently. Before we get to that, why don't you give people who are not familiar with HandCash a quick overview of what is HandCash and your business?
Yeah, sure. We say that HandCash is a Bitcoin wallet you can recommend, and basically our motto or our inspiration right now, or our mission, is that we want to make Bitcoin for the rest of us. And our focus is on making it stupid easy for both developers and users.
Fantastic. So I know you're a very popular mobile wallet in the Bitcoin SV ecosystem, and one of the ways you make Bitcoin easier to use is using, for example, your handle system, where people can send Bitcoin SV to each other through essentially a username, such as mine is Jimmy Nguyen, W-I-N, as opposed to using the long string of Bitcoin address characters that have traditionally been used. So we thank you for that great contribution to the ease of use for Bitcoin. You recently announced that HandCash is going keyless. Will you tell the audience what that means and what is the impact for the everyday user?
Sure. One of the things is that we are a non-custodial wallet service, and so far all the security relied on the user's ability to actually write down and keep a set of 12 words. We've tried with different systems. We tried with NFC backups. We've tried with Google backups. We've tried with many times of backups. But no matter what we did, we saw that we were always getting emails every day of people using losing their 12 words passwords or keys, or there are many ways of referring to them. We call them recovery phrases. The problem with that is that if you lose that recovery phrase, you lose access to your money. So that kind of sucks. And although people in Bitcoin kind of understand that, regular people don't, because they are used to they sign up for a service and they're not losing the money. So we had two ways of solving that. One was going the custodial route, but would require lots of licenses and headaches and stuff. And then there's one particular place where we have a huge jackpot for hackers and stuff. And the other route was to be innovative and try to still have a non-custodial service, but just figure out how to solve that issue. And we did. So what we actually did was using a system called, a cryptographic technique called threshold signatures scheme. Basically, what this does is that once you create your HandCash account, a backup will be done automatically, and you don't have to worry about that anymore.
So yeah, you mentioned threshold signature schemes. That is a topic of big discussion in the Bitcoin SV world. Can you explain for our audience, especially people who are not as familiar with cryptography and Bitcoin, what is a threshold signature scheme?
Sure. Usually when you have a traditional Bitcoin wallet, you have these 12 words that hold the money, okay? And that those 12 words are your wallet. What we did is that we split back in 1 year ago, we split those 12 words. We split them in two per se. We kept half of the key, and the user kept the other half. Then they had to authenticate the phone number, so they get the half that we have. So with both, they could combine it for creating one, the whole seed. But we added a twist to that. Okay, so we added a twist to that with the threshold signature scheme. What this does is basically that every wallet right now is a composition of multiple keys, 2 or more keys, and each of those keys is independently held by an independent company. In this case, MatterCloud and HandCash. So that means that instead of the user having to sign every transaction, the user is authenticated in 2 different independent parties that they cannot exchange the keys to between themselves, and every transaction is signed on behalf of the user partially. So when you have 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, there are many multiple schemes. When you have all the partial signatures required on a transaction, then the transaction is considered signed that you can send it. Why that is great is that it allows us for moving the signing of transactions to the cloud, decouple it from the device. And the same way that the future of mining was to move to server farms, we believe that the future of Bitcoin transaction signing is in the cloud and even remaining non-custodial.
And for our audience, to understand a little bit better, for those of you who are less familiar with this field, the reason it's called the threshold signature scheme is it's the idea of taking the private key, or in ordinary terms, a passcode, breaking it into fragments, parts, and then setting a system, a scheme, that a certain number of the parts need to be reconstituted at that's the threshold number. For example, breaking a key into 5 parts and saying we need 3 of the 5 together to reconstitute. In its simplest terms, that's the easiest way to understand why it's called a threshold signature scheme.
In our case, it's a little bit different because you don't actually ever reconstruct the key. That's the good thing about the way that we're doing it, because it allows us for total abstraction, and it's great for performance and for security, because there's nothing to hack. Right. There's no one key to hack.
And I understand you got some assistance from the team at nChain in sorting through the threshold signature approaches. Tell us about that experience.
Oh yeah, we went to the nChain offices like a year and a half ago, and Owen. He gave us a briefing on the threshold signature scheme, and for us, that was very obvious that was the answer, and that materialized into the Nakasendo SDK. Sorry, and with that SDK, we could build a TSS system the way we wanted, and it's a reality right now, and it will be great for users and developers.
Well, that's great to hear, because I know when I try to onboard my friends to a Bitcoin SV wallet and I have to explain what these seed words are, these 12 words, and why they need to write them down and what they do with them, there's always this scary moment, this glazed look in their eyes. So it's great to hear you have provided a much easier solution for users. So let's move on to your Connect SDK, the HandCash Connect software development kit. When can we expect the SDK to be emerging? Because I know you talked about it and announced it at a previous CoinGeek conference. So what's the status update?
Yeah. We are going to launch it, make it public for any company maybe before the mid-month, maybe before the 15th of October, something like that. We expected to launch it in the upcoming days. And the reason it took so long was that once we started developing it, we realized that it would be much better in every way: performance, security, privacy, and many other aspects if we actually built it keyless from the ground up. So that was something that we had to wait a little bit for the Nakasendo SDK, longer than we expected. And then it took a while to actually develop all these things. But we think, long term, it was the right call to actually wait a little bit and offer a much better solution.
Can you explain how businesses can use the Connect SDK you're providing and how the threshold signature scheme approach will make those functions more powerful?
Sure. Well, you have login and payment systems like other Bitcoin SDKs. But the cool thing is that once we are going to specialize on very cool types of payments, using very cool UTXO management for example, payment streams, promise payments, bidding systems, all kinds of cool stuff. And the other cool thing is that by being keyless and HTTP based, because that's what threshold signatures allows for, is that we have total abstraction to the point that as you are not having to sign on device, we can afford to, we are signing on the cloud. That allows that basically any device running HTTP code can be running a Connect app. And that's very cool because you can now develop Bitcoin apps without having to build your own wallet for mobile apps, for desktop apps, even for a smart fridge if you figure out how to do it.
So it's a great advancement in helping Bitcoin be easier, not just for the everyday user, but for businesses that want to integrate Bitcoin payments or other functionality into their applications.
Yeah.
Is your Connect SDK usable for, tell us what kind of platforms it's usable for, websites, mobile applications, smart devices?
Sure. Or any application that has access to the web, to be honest, there are people that are using it for VR apps, for the Oculus Quest. There are people, people that want to build IoT products and they can just run it on a Raspberry Pi or any mobile native mobile app. You can, for example, for the first time have something like you can build it like something like Twitch or whatever, but with device notifications and in-app payments and all that stuff right from the get-go.
Fantastic. So now let's move on to your recently announced partnership with Centi, the new venture in Switzerland, which is making point-of-sale payment systems easier to use between merchants and consumers to be able to pay with Bitcoin SV. Tell us about your partnership and what you're looking forward to.
Well, they approached us. Bernard approached us because he was looking for a great UI or a great front end for its product, and he trusted HandCash because of our reputation on being innovative and working with other companies, and because we actually developed along with AnyPay this BIP 270 payment system, or at least we perfected it. And we have all these peer-to-peer payments. We have been in the payments system for Bitcoin. We have been innovating with things like POP for a long time, and so we have a lot of experience, and we have a great user base, and we have a great reputation for having a great user experience for our users. So basically, what they wanted is, hey, a great partner that can allow us for deploying this solution in points of sale and a wallet that everybody already has, and it's very easy to use. We are very thrilled about this because it's actually making a reality payments in actual stores without having to deploy any point of sale systems. That's kind of why we stopped with the POP project, because we saw that there are other companies like AnyPay or Centi too, that they are specializing on this kind of payments, and we're rather specialized on what we are doing best, which is the wallet infrastructure and the wallet UI, and we are trying to help all these companies build great stuff together.
Yeah, that's great, because the more we can make it easier for merchants to adopt payments of Bitcoin SV without having to install new hardware, software, or new procedures, the easier it is to be able to drive adoption. For the online audience, I want to point out that you actually can be sending questions that are suggested for us to ask the speakers throughout the day. There's an area below the video screen on the virtual conference platform. We have a team watching the questions who will try to alert me to them as the event's going on. So if you have questions for our speakers throughout the day, please try to put them into the question and answer area, and hopefully I'll be able to see them and ask some questions. For Alex, now let's turn to sort of the future. What else do you think needs to be created, developed, or done to make Bitcoin easier to use for the everyday consumer?
Yeah, I think definitely we need developers. I think we have to give developers the tools needed so they can start experimenting and testing all kinds of different ideas, because we ultimately we have to figure out what is the eBay of Bitcoin. Okay, the same way that it was PayPal found one particular use case that actually made a lot of sense and solved a lot of problems in the real world. We have to figure out a few. I think with Bitcoin we can figure out more than one of these use cases, and yeah, that's part of it. And also, I think it's very important to make it very easy to use for everyday people, not just for that make. I'm not talking about making the UI nicer, but having better field ramps to improve the perception of the technology. They're already using it, if they even have to bother about the technology. There are many open questions, and I think it's time for people in this community to try different approaches and see what works.
One thing you've mentioned online is the dollar top-up problem. Can you explain what that is and what you would do to solve it?
Yeah, in our opinion, fiat ramps right now, the current existing fiat ramps, they do not fit with the micropayment ecosystem that we are trying to build in Bitcoin SV. You have very high minimums. The fees are super high. The KYC levels for getting started are too much to ask for a new user. And you also have no in-app experiences for topping up. There's no one particular button inside. There's no API service that you can integrate inside your app that doesn't take the user out of the app experience, and you just can top up $1 with Apple Pay, something like that. We have to figure that out, and in a way that makes sense, it's appealing, and it's replicable and extendable to all companies in Bitcoin. I think it's one of those. Is basically the problem that we have to tackle right now, because that once that's solved, I think we are not that far off from being an appealing ecosystem to a mainstream audience. I think that's one of the big hurdles. We are doing our part with talking with other companies, liquidity providers. We are trying to build it our own, because to be honest, we have been a little bit disappointed. We didn't want to go into this area. We like to be focused on doing two or three or one thing very well, and focus on just doing one or two things very well. But we are seeing that in 3 years that we've been on the market, nobody has came up with a perfect solution for fiat ramps on a micropayment system or ecosystem.
A question has come in from someone located in the United States here. Is there a timeline for the in-app top-up option to become available? Do you have a timeline?
Do you really want to trust my timelines? But no, we are working on that, and it depends on jurisdictions. There are some countries where it will be faster to actually implement this thing. The thing is that we are pretty confident that by summer next year, all major issues that we have seen or pointed out in Bitcoin, I think will be already addressed and should be available for the whole ecosystem. And then it's when things get interesting. But I want to be cautious. We don't have a real timeline on that. This is something that we are working on. We have a great blueprint on this. We are willing to work with any liquidity company or provider that really wants to take this seriously. Because the problem right now is that you knock the doors and they say, but you're a small company. Oh, but you're BSV, and you have bad reputation or whatever. And there are many of these stupid things that if you were paying attention to what's going on PSV, you would see that there's a big blue ocean open there. And you could become a great player if you want to invest a little bit of time just working with us on building this kind of thing. We are open to again, we don't want to build everything by ourselves. If we find a great company that, hey, we can give them this blueprint and we can work together and make it real, I think it could take us technically 2 or 3 months to make it done with modern technology, with modern APIs that connect with your bank, that connect with Apple Pay and whatever. We can make it done. The thing is that there are licenses, regulations to get through. That takes a lot of time and money. So there's so much we can do as a small company right now. But again, this is an open call to any company that's listening to this.
Well, I know you are a big fan of blue ocean strategies, and there is indeed a huge blue ocean of business opportunities available in the Bitcoin SV ecosystem. We encourage all companies to explore that blue ocean and to reach out to HandCash and so many other ventures in our Bitcoin SV ecosystem to pursue that blue ocean. So thank you, Alex, for joining us. I know we got more audience questions in, but we're out of time. And good luck to you and Rafa, and I'll see you soon.